And we welcome you to a sunshine-filled day, beautiful day in New York City. There's a shot on the American Family Channel if you're watching or online or on the CTN cable network and Sky Angel. That's a live shot of the Brooklyn Bridge. You can see it's got some of the drapes over it. They've been doing some work on it, and but it is a gorgeous day in New York, and I'm so glad that you're here. Beautiful fall October day. Got home from Tupelo on Friday. And the leaves had really started changing colors deeply and just filling the driveway and the yard and everything else. But it's okay. I don't mind. It's one of the reasons why I love living in places where we have four seasons. It's just a beautiful experience to see the full scope of God's nature. And some of you that live in the South, while you have really nice weather all year long, you don't get to experience that. So I'll put on a coat and enjoy the snow, at least a little bit, and some of the fall colors, and you can keep your 70-degree days. It's an uneven trade-off, I'll grant you that, but I feel like I get the better end of the bargain. Anyway, AFA Today, Kevin McCullough, glad to be back with you. We're talking about why the teachers' unions are actively campaigning to put sex offenders in your child's classroom. And by the way, the new poll that's up at onenewsnow.com actually asks you about this. Who do you think the teachers' unions, based on their actions, what is the main concern of unions like the National Education Association or the American Federation of Teachers? And you have the students, the teachers, the unions, and you can vote. And I've told you what I think. I don't think that they have the interest of the students involved in their minds at all. They are going to pelt Harry Reid's office with lobbying efforts to try to get this bill killed so that sex offenders can teach in your child's classroom. And what you need to do is you need to politely call your senators, but you can also call the majority leader's office. And I know that he's not your friend on most issues. He's not mine either. But if he can bring this bill forward and pass it, he'll earn a little bit of good grace from me for at least a little while, because it'll demonstrate that he really does care about the welfare of children. And so here's the number where you can call both your senator, both senators from your state, and also Majority Leader Reid's office, 202-224-3121. And guys, if you can get that on the screen at some point, that'd be great too. 202-224-3121 to call the Senate. Ask for your senators by name. Ask for Senator Reid's office by name. And when they connect you, tell them you want them to pass House Bill, or whatever the equivalent of it is, but what passed the House as House Bill 2083. In other words, you just want to prevent sex offenders from being in the classroom. But it's House Resolution 2083 that got passed. 202-224-3121 is the number, and I want you to call and ask your senators to vote in favor of that bill. See to it that the bill comes to the floor. See to it that it gets passed. In the House, both Democrats and Republicans work together to pass it. It makes common sense. You're working for the welfare of children. I don't understand what the teachers' unions are working for. It just doesn't seem to me to be anything moral or just or good. But that's something they'll have to live with, I guess, not me. 888-589-8840 if you want to chat with Kevin McCullough about this. A couple of more points before I'm going to the calls. Our society at one time viewed all of this very differently. As I said, in the last 10 years, every time there's been a teacher accused of sexual misconduct with students or with kids underage, which they all have been, the teachers' unions have always come to the defense of the teacher and never cared about the welfare of the child. They've even, in some cases, accused the child of making up the charges or being falsely motivated, et cetera, saying that they were so willing and consensual that it shouldn't even be an issue. See, there was a day in which our society thought more clearly about sexual clarity and integrity. There was a time when we said there were certain things that were right and there were certain things that were wrong. We thought clearly about sexual activity. The majority of the country said you should wait until you're married to be sexually active. There was a time when we said about sexual content, it has no place in being in the minds or eyesight or fingertips of children. There was a time when we actually condemned sexual contact between children and adults, And we certainly condemned sexual contact between children and teachers. We don't seem to have that clarity in America anymore. And that bothers me greatly. The grand bet that is being waged here is built on one firm truth that has played itself out, and it is this: the lessening of our sexual mores in our society at large has led now to a genuine shift in what is safe, decent, and good for our kids. Let me say that again. The lessening of our sexual mores, the standards that we have about sexuality, the lessening of those things has led to a genuine shift, real, a real shift in thinking about what is safe and decent and good as it pertains to kids. Children are becoming the victims of a society that is losing its clarity on sex, and as it does, they become the victims of those who behave badly. And we see it no better than in the teachers' unions doing all that they can to see to it that sex offenders, rapists, and murderers get to teach in your kids' classrooms. The lessening of our sexual mores have led to a genuine shift in what is safe, decent, and good for our kids. That is a statement that must be understood to know where we are right now as a country. The grand bet here that is being waged is that teachers' unions can lean on the majority leader hard enough to kill this bill. Never bring it up for a vote. The other bet that they're making here is that the average parent just won't care. This will be the case only because we are a society that in some measure has stopped thinking for ourselves. And instead we've placed our trust in smart people, in quotation marks. You know smart people. The kind of people that think you can solve the healthcare crisis by creating a giant computer database that no one can access. Smart people, the ones that run around in wine and cheese parties in New York and D.C. and talk with such arrogance about their views of education and family and what it really should mean, and how there's really no difference between two daddies and a little girl, or two mommies and two boys, and at times they've even discussed, there really shouldn't be that big of a deal between a teacher having sex with a student if they're both in love and it's all consensual. Because, kids never give their consent to do things that they later regret, right? They've always thought it through to the nth degree. So, of course, there couldn't be any negative there because the kid just wanted to be involved. The reporter takes his daughter, who's 14, he, a male, takes his female daughter to see a pornographic film in a theater that's now broadly advertising that it's not going to check ID anymore for kids that appear to be under 17 years of age. This is why the teachers' unions feel that they can get away with this. They believe that you and I don't exist. They believe that the way we think is antiquated and that we don't have the strength to stand up and speak about it. I'm praying that they are wrong, and I'm praying that you will do something about it by calling 202-224-3121. 202-224-3121. I'm not yelling and screaming. I'm not getting all excited. Right Wing Watch wants to write something up about this. They're going to have to say he didn't lose his cool during the whole broadcast. Because, friends, this is just too deadly important. What some people think is no big deal, who someone has sex with, how old they are when they have sex, they think it's just a personal decision that everybody should have the right to decide for themselves. You can say that until you get anywhere near my kids, and then you best be prepared to defend your life if you're gonna take that approach with them, because I will do everything within my power to protect them. Everything. 888-589-8840. Your thoughts on all of this. Let's start with Ashley, who's calling from Louisiana. Ashley, good Monday to you. Kevin McCullough, glad you're with us on AFA Today. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Actually, the first part of my question was already answered by listening to you, after the break, and that was how to get the information to specifically put pressure on the majority leaders in regards to this. And just my second thought is, our first response, like you said, is not to throw a fit and kick and scream, which is what we want to do. But, especially for people that are supposed to be leaders like A.O. Scott. But, our next thought is just being aware that our fight is not against flesh and blood. It is a spiritual battle, and it is against the enemy of our souls. And so we just know as a Christian family that the reason why the enemy is trying to bring so much confusion, especially at an early age, is because bringing confusion and questioning the sexuality of our children is the biggest direct effect on marriage. And why would the enemy fight marriage so much is because the marriage relationship is the closest representation of our relationship with God, completely sacrificial, pure love and giving to one another. And so we know that the enemy is going to fight that all the more harder. And so knowing that it is a battle, that we have to stand up and do something about it. I just think that we have two areas that we have to do it in. And first we have to do it spiritually, and that's praying. And that's knowing that we can't do it alone. But the Bible says that with all things are possible with God. And it says that when it says that no weapons formed against us shall prosper, it also says in every tongue that's rised up against us, we shall condemn. That's our part of it. We can't just sit back and pray. Our part is saying that, we do pray first, we do depend on God, but then we shall rise up and condemn those things. So it is, just really encouraging people not to just feel like it's hopeless and sit back and listen to the news and think there's nothing that can be done, but to make the calls and put that pressure on those leaders.
Absolutely.
You have to listen to us. We will rise up and we will condemn you. It's our responsibility. And if we don't do that, then our children and the children of other people who don't know are at stake, and we're not going to let that happen.
They will be sacrificed as the Israelites allowed their children to be sacrificed to the god of Moloch in the Old Testament. Same thing that'll happen here. And
yes.
we don't want that to happen. Ashley, thank you for your very well thought out and articulated response. You, my lady, are a binge thinker. So titled, so given. So go forth and continue doing as you have been. Thank you for your call. A binge thinker, by the way, is someone who does replace clarity from their confusion. They obliterate their confusion, they replace it with truth, and they speak clarity. She did that very well. 888-589-8840. Glad you're with us. Kevin McCullough is my name. We're talking about a story that I wrote about. You can get the entire article as well as the phone number to call Senator Majority Leader Reid at onenewsnow.com. It's simply titled, Why Teachers Unions Want Sex Offenders in Your Child's Classroom. It's a pretty straightforward title, but that's exactly what they're advocating for. It's what they're lobbying for. And you can call Senator Reid's office and ask him to bring the bill forward and to vote for it to pass. Most Democrats in the House did. It was an overwhelmingly bipartisan effort in the House to pass this bill. There wasn't anybody that thought this was a bad idea to keep rapists and sex offenders out of the classroom. And then the teachers' unions realized that it was going to affect all the teachers that are already in place, and they started kicking and screaming. And I just wonder, I asked this question the other day, but are they kicking and screaming because they're genuinely concerned about the number of teachers that are currently teaching in classrooms that are felony offenders? Are they genuinely concerned about that many people dropping from the ranks of their unions that they think it's worth exploiting and sacrificing our children to keep their people in place? I mean, I would think if we had 5% of teachers nationwide that were convicted felons and offenders, that would be a very high number and that we would want them out. What if it's even bigger than that? I don't know. 202-224-3121 to call your senators and to call Senator Reid's office. Call the two senators from your state. Ask them to encourage Leader Reid to bring forward this legislation and to make sure that it comes forward for a vote. Encourage Senator Reid's office directly to do the same thing. Be polite. We're not going to gain anything if we're not polite in this process. Just the overwhelming numbers of people calling by itself should do the trick. They should get the idea that there's a lot of people paying attention to this and that it's actually quite important, and that Kevin's hunches that the teachers' unions thought that nobody would care all proved to be wrong on the teachers' unions' part. That parents are actually paying attention, that we do care, that we are going to speak up, and we're going to let them know our feelings on this, and then we're going to watch how they vote and proceed on it. We're not letting this get away. 202-224-3121 is the number. 202-224-3121. I need you to call that number, that's the switchboard at the Senate. Ask for your senators. Talk to each of their offices. Ask them to vote in favor of this bill. Ask them to ask Senator Reid to bring the bill forward. Doesn't matter what party they are. Doesn't matter what party you are. If you live in their state, they are your senator. They can take action based on your request. Ask them to do so. 202-224-3121. Actually, what I'd love to know is if you call, I'd like you to call me and let me know if the senators' offices are even aware of this. I'd love to know what they're telling you as you call. So call me after you call your senators, 888-589-8840. Let's go to Eric in Texas. Hi, Eric. You're up next on AFA Today with Kevin McCullough. So glad you're here.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you for highlighting this issue. I just want to say that the reasons that they're doing this, I'm sure there's one practical thing. There's a real teacher shortage going on. But on the other hand, why this? Why this? I think it's because those who drive the teachers' unions are part of the so-called progressive movement, which from its very beginning, even back in the days of the French Revolution and all their succeeding generations, have been to wanting to destroy and change all standard existing standards.
I think that you're right, Eric, and I believe that you're hitting that dead on, and I think that you're right. So please call Senator Reid's office and make sure that he hears from you. 202-224-3121. I'm Kevin McCullough, coming right back on AFA Today.